Indeed. And Mr. Wagmar, what did you make of the timing of the Prime Minister's visit? As I was discussing with Ambassador Mukul, both Jordan and Oman, along with Ethiopia, two countries were seen, as you mentioned, moderate Islamic nations and crucial for India's West Asia policy. And it comes at a time when there's a churning, as Ambassador Mukul was pointing out, in the wider Middle East, or West Asia as some others call it, including the Saudi Arabian US talks which were held recently, the Qatar-Israel conflict, the Gaza conflict, you name it. So the timing of the visit, in your estimation, is crucial?
Well, in one sense, yes. And of course, with the anniversaries in mind, with the 75th and 70th anniversaries, that was being heralded with these visits. Yes, that I think it absolutely ties in with both points which policy planners in Delhi would have had in mind with the visit. The entire region is not just in ferment, but seesawing turbulently. We've not seen peace since October 7th, 2023, and we don't know how this would pan out once the chips fall, and wherever they do, and they're still falling as we speak. So it will be difficult to prognosticate on that, though I have attempted in several fora to do so. But the visits are times to show and demonstrate India's strategic autonomy, and also that despite the turmoil that regionally is taking place, India continues with what's its Look West policy that I mentioned that was enunciated in 2005, because the GCC is India's largest trading partner. And with testy trade relations currently with DC and the current dispensation, it would be useful to realize what I've just mentioned, that the GCC Gulf Cooperation Council is India's largest trading partner, with trade standing at $178.56 billion as of fiscal year 2024-2025. Of course, there's a deficit involved therein, because India's imports are considerably, appreciably larger, what with the hydrocarbon aspect, standing at something like 121 to 122 billion, and Indian exports at a good 57 billion. So there is a chasm there, but that's just in the nature of things. But it's a burgeoning relationship. As I mentioned at the outset, that it's not just seen through the hydrocarbon oil and gas prism anymore. It has diversified into defense, aerospace, security, health, digital economy, industrial aspects, heavy industry, light industries, finished goods, so on and so forth. So it has, and not just with Oman and Jordan, but with all others in the Arab Gulf as such.
Indeed. Now that our viewers would have had a fair idea of where India and Oman are coming from and about their bilateral ties as well, let me seek your views, Ambassador Mukul and Mr. Wagmar, on the visit per se. Starting with you, Ambassador Mukul, what are your thoughts, expectations, as it were, in terms of the optics and outcomes from the Prime Minister's second visit to Oman in 7 odd years?
Yeah, as I started by saying, it's an all-encompassing strategic partnership. So let us look at it to the main sectors. First, of course, the trade and investment.
Right.
The trade is about, the bilateral trade is about 10 plus billion. The investments we've mentioned, there are about 600 million in India by Omanis, and 6,000 Indian joint ventures there, which total up to a total investment capital outlay of 7.5 billion. The idea is that the comprehensive economic partnership agreement, as the FTA between India and Oman is called, I think it's our expectation that this will be concluded during this visit, perhaps tomorrow in the official talks. And this would be a major impetus to taking forward the trade and investment technology relationship. It will also have an impact on the diaspora. We could come to that on the situation, the jobs, etc. that would create. So the CEPA, the CEPA, which I personally am optimistic, since it has been cleared by the authorities on both sides, that this will hopefully be finalized tomorrow. So that would provide a major impetus to the economic commercial relations, which is, in a manner of speaking, the mainstay of India-Oman relations. Traditionally, since time immemorial, there were the trading links that all started off with trade. Coming to modern times, a very important aspect is the strategic or defense ties between the two countries. Now, reference has been made to the tri-services joint military exercises. In fact, since 1993, we have the sea breeze, or what is called Bahar Nasim al Bahar, or the sea breeze exercises, 14th edition of this. It's a biennial exercise, once in 2 years. The 14th edition of this was held in 2024. There is also the Air Force exercise, what is called the Jisr al-Sharqi, or the Eastern Bridge. This started sometime around in the 2008, I think, if I recall, 8 or 9. And 7 editions of this have been done, where the military aircraft of both countries participate. Then the latest one was, which happened during my tenure in Oman around 2011, 10 or 11, which is called the Al-Najah, the victory or success, which is the army exercise. Now, the importance of these is that these are for developing interoperability between the 3 tri-services of all the 3 countries, and these are all held normally once in 2 years. The last one on the army was held near Salalah in the desert, basically on the desert side. The air, of course, we have the Indian aircraft participating. So that is on the tri-services exercises, and that is Oman is the only country with which we have all the 3. In addition to that, there are also very close Coast Guard to Coast Guard dialogue and relationship between the 2 countries. Apart from just these exercises, Oman is a very key hub for what is called the OTR, operational turnaround, whether it was during the time of piracy or even otherwise when the patrolling happens. Every month we had an Indian naval ship in the port of Salalah for what is called operational turnaround. And we always got the best of cooperation from the Omani authorities. Then also to remember that, the piracy fortunately has declined, but there is, of course, always the risk of something or the other. Indian patrolling continues right up to the Bab al-Mandab, up to in the Arabian Sea and the Gulf of Oman, etc. So this Oman and India cooperate very closely on this. Then again, on the defense side, it is very interesting that Oman and India were the 2 countries which have the British Jaguar planes, while the British French Jaguar planes, they have the original equipment manufacturers have discontinued production. There are very few air forces. There were some others like Ecuador, Nigeria, etc. But really, it is the Omanis have also now decided to phase out the Jaguar aircraft. And there are reports that their remaining aircraft and the spares could be provided to India, which has upgraded its Jaguars so that these can be used by us, because the original equipment manufacturers are no longer manufacturing this. So these are the only sort of spares and planes available. The planes, of course, not to be used as planes, but maybe to be cannibalized and used, their spares to be used for our Jaguar fleet. So that is also a very important element. Whether that will directly be discussed, as an outcome, may not be, because these have happened on the defense side, and that is also very significant.
Absolutely.
So that is on the, and of course, not to forget, on the both on the economic and defense side, Oman is the sentinel of the Hormuz Straits, through which all our energy supplies, not just from Oman, but from other Gulf countries, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, and whatever, they flow through the Strait of Hormuz, which is a narrow strait. And it is important to note that the actual passage, the actual sea lane of passage falls in the Omani side of the Gulf of the Strait of Hormuz. So as we say, sentinel of the Hormuz. So it's important that, and of course, Oman has always been like us for open and free and open passage. So this is also a very important strategic consideration between the 2 countries. And last, on the defense side, I'll mention that the port of Dukum, which is being developed apart from Salala, where we have the operational turnaround. At the port of Dukum, we have facility now for logistics and maintenance of our vessels if required. So I think in that sense, a very comprehensive defense and strategic cooperation. The last but not the least, before I stop here, is of course on the people-to-people contract side. Now there, of course, there is a lot happening. There is, of course, the diaspora, which was mentioned, 675,000 out of the 10 million that we have in the Gulf. The Indian diaspora in Oman is, like in every other GCC country, is considered a factor of strategic stability. And that is important. We are the preferred sort of expatriate community, known for its hard work, for its skills, for this law-abiding nature, etc. And that is why it is the Indian diaspora is the largest in each of the GCC countries. So that is, and all these issues will, of course, be discussed, and I'm sure the requisite impetus or the guidance provided by the leaders of the two countries going forward as to how to take these forward.
Indeed. On that note, gentlemen, maybe take a quick break if you allow us to quickly go in for a break and then regroup after a few minutes. With us still is our guests, Ambassador J.S. Mukul and Mr. Burzin Wagma, to take us through the remainder of this broadcast later on after the break. But before that, the nearly 700,000 strong Indian community in Oman is well established in multiple fields as professionals and business persons, apart from performing other responsibilities. Now, my colleague Gautam Roy spoke to 3 prominent business persons in the Gulf nation about the prospects for enhancing economic relations.
The Indian community in Oman is 675,000 strong, and many have been here for generations and have very strong, deep roots into the community, be it through business or through their profession and otherwise. We have some eminent Indian Omanis with us today. Let's talk to them.
The India and Oman, the relation is more than decades, I know, more than 5 years long and all everything. And the Narendra Modi, I think so, he's coming in Oman and all. And so we are most welcome to him to see them, and we are also having the business conference at the Al Bustan.
We are here for the last 125 years in Oman. This is our 4th generations. We are running the business. We are very great to His Majesty Sultan Qaboos also, because of he has given the nationalities to the Omanis, and even Sheikh Haitham is also like that only. And we are very happy in Oman for the last so many years.
Now, there's been talk of a comprehensive economic partnership, a trade deal between India and Oman. It's been under work since November 2023, and it could be finalized in this visit as well. So what are your expectations there?
Yeah, definitely. We are very, very positive about these things also. And definitely it will be help to both the countries, Oman as well as India. Because there is a lot of goods are coming from India also, as well as from here also is going to there also. So definitely it will be help to both the countries.
I think nobody can avoid India. Nobody can ignore India. The intellectual abilities and whatever field, whatever sector, whatever industry we want to go in, India is the one who will help you. Now, having established a relationship with India, with this country, maybe over 5,000 years. And I'm sure everybody expects that there should not be any problem in tying up as much as we can with India. Now, naturally, the trade has been going up. And with this FTA or with the treaty they are talking about, will definitely enhance this one.
Great, sounds great. And we hope that these ties make further progress, because there's complete harmony where India and Oman are concerned. They've been working in concert as bilateral partners for decades now, and there's a lot more to look forward to. With camera person RK, this is Gautam Roy in Muscat, Oman for DD India.
Now, traders, industrialists and investors, both in India and Oman, are expecting to make huge gains with the second visit of the Prime Minister to that country. My colleague Gautam Roy spoke to industrialist, educationist and lawmaker Naveen Jindal about prospects for boosting the bilateral economic ties. Take a listen.
India-Oman business ties are already strong. Just the last financial year, $10.6 billion of trade took place. Investments are also pretty high, but this visit to Prime Minister Modi is expected to give a further fillip to it. And someone who knows the best about it is with us, Naveen Jindal, here in Muscat, well-known industrialist, educationist, and a member of parliament. Thank you for speaking to us. What can you tell us about the current level of business ties, the sectors that it covers, and the kind of boost that it is expected to get with this visit?
Okay, so I must say that India and Oman enjoy very good relations, and this relationship is, as you know, thousands of years old. And Omani people really respect Indians, and lots of Indians are working here in every field, and they are treated at par with the Omanis. They are treated very well, and Indians are very happy to be working in Oman. We personally have an experience of over 15 years of working in Oman. And I must say it has been a great experience. The people here, people in the government, they are very humble, they are very helpful, and they respect Indians a lot. And I remember clearly that in 2018, Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Modi had visited Oman. That further strengthened the ties between India and Oman. And people, you know, there are a huge amount of Indians working in Oman. They were all thrilled to have Mr. Modi visit Oman. And now when Mr. Modi is again visiting Oman, Indians are really, really happy, Omanis are really happy, and Omanis look up to India, Omanis look up to leadership of Mr. Modi, because under his leadership, India has become the fourth largest economy in the world. India is growing at around 7% GDP growth rate, and so Oman also wishes to grow faster. Oman looks up to India. And now when Mr. Modi is coming to Oman, this would further strengthen the government-to-government ties, will further strengthen people-to-people ties, and the kind of agreements that we are talking about between India and Oman. This would our business together is around more than $10 billion. And I'm sure in the next few years it can easily go above 20 billion.
Thank you for speaking to DD India. So that was Naveen Jindal talking about the kind of potential this relationship between India and Oman has, and the way it can be further boosted with the kind of pacts that are set to be inked as part of this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to the Sultanate of Oman. With camera person Mukut Sharma, Gautam Roy, Oman, Muscat, DD India.
All right, so if you're just joining us, you're watching a special broadcast here on DD India of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Muscat, Oman, on the third and last leg of his three-nation tour of West Asia and Africa, which has already taken him to Jordan first, followed by Ethiopia. Is now in Muscat, where he will hold talks with the Omani leadership on a range of issues, including bilateral and regional issues of interest or concern to both New Delhi and Muscat. Right, we still have with us our guests, Ambassador J.S. Mukul and Mr. Burzin Wagmar, to take us through the remainder of this broadcast here on DD India. Gentlemen, thank you for your patience. Let me get in your thoughts now, Mr. Wagmar, on what Ambassador Mukul was mentioning before we took that break. He was talking to us about India-Oman trade and investment relationship in particular. Your thoughts, by all accounts, the comprehensive economic partnership agreement is a done deal. We can expect it to be signed tomorrow, we are told, in Muscat. You think it is significant because, on the other hand, the India GCC FTA is work in progress, so this should be welcome, right?
Yes, it is very much work in progress, and that will be the plum that falls in India's lap as and when it happens, and it will take time to happen. And that is what should be pointed out. Trade talks are difficult, even at the best of times, even among strategic partners and with amicable allies and partners.
Sure.
For example, the hiccups on the Indo-Omani deal, which will be inked tomorrow, 2 points that come to mind was the question of Omanization, which is something to be seen up and down the Gulf. Just like Bahrainization or Emiratization, where the labor force is being absorbed into the economy and expatriate workers are on the wane, as these countries, after a quarter of a century, are standing on their own feet, as you can tell. So the Indian apprehension was that with Omanization taking place, where Omani workers get priority in certain sectors, it could hamper India's comparative advantage. And that is, of course, the linchpin in all trade deals, the element of comparative advantage. And that it could adversely affect the Indian workforce, which constitutes a fifth in the Sultanate as we're on air. And then there was the second issue that I believe was broached on the question of origin of products, and that it could have some ramifications with Chinese exporters in mind locally based there. And India wanted to thrash the nitty-gritty out on that. I believe that has been shored over. So that was, these two were points that were, shall we say, dragging the talks for a while until you reach the finishing line. And once one does that, then of course it's a done deal. But until then, it ain't over until it's over, as the Americans would put it. And trade talks inevitably occur like this all the time, as you saw with the Indo-British talks, which went through 20 plus rounds. So that's just in the nature of talks. Mention was made by the ambassador of both mercantile and military links. I might also mention here that both India and Oman are two countries which have faced a considerable Marxist insurgency in their history. In India's context, the Red Corridor, as you do know about, the Naxalite insurgency of Maoists, and also Oman through the mid-60s through the 70s, when in southern Oman, near Dhofar region, bordering with Yemen, there was a long-standing Marxist insurgency that the Sultanate had to quash, and it did so with success eventually. So that is something also which would be on the minds of India's military planners, I should like to think as a historian, when these inter-service exercises do take place, that both faced a common threat of Marxist local guerrilla insurgents. And speaking of trade and the communities in Oman, of course, one talks about Gujarat and Saurashtra, historically speaking, but also Balochistan and what was historic India along the Makran littoral. Don't forget, Ramesh, that the enclave of Gwadar was purchased from Oman by Pakistan in 1958 and formally became part of Pakistani territory and sovereignty only after December 1958. The Al Busaid dynasty ran the enclave of Oman, of Gwadar, as an outlier of the Omani state.
And if I may just add a quick point there, the Khan of Kalath, it was first offered to India, historically speaking, but for reasons best known to the then rulers, India did not follow through on that offer. But anyway, do finish making a point there.
So it's just not the Western Indian Ocean and Arabian Sea where the trade links are with the Jain and Gujarati Saurashtra communities that are in Oman for the last 7 to 8 generations. But also if you take the other littoral, the Bay of Bengal on India's southeast coast. Now, why do I mention that? Because Omani Arab soldiers were garrisoned in the Nizam's state, Hyderabad state, the Asaf Jahi dynasty, since the inception of that dynasty in 1724. The Asaf Jahis who ran Hyderabad from 1724 to 1948, as you know, and there is a considerable Arab population of descent even now in Hyderabad city and the adjoining region of what was historic Andhra Pradesh. So on both littorals, if you go to see, the Omani impress, whether the Arabian Sea or on the Bay of Bengal side, is significant. And I felt that needs to be brought into context, including the one on the eastern side of things.
Fair enough. Would you like to come in on that as well, Ambassador Mukul, on how India, maybe missed the bus, as it were? I mean, Gwadar could have been, history would have been different had things gone differently back then?
Obviously, if Gwadar had come to India, things would have been different. But that is part of history now.
Right.
But to pick up a point that was made about the southern, the Marxist insurgency in southern part of Oman, in the Dhofar region, I must also point out that because of the turmoil and the unsettled conditions in Yemen presently, while the insurgency ended long back, in the Yemen presently, a lot of smuggling and lot of illegal trafficking went on in that region, and it was a very happy thing that the Omanis turned to India to build parts of the fencing there, and it was our public sector companies that really fulfill those projects. So the entire border is not, of course, sealed off. There is the Mazuma checkpost, where the legal checkpost between Yemen and Oman. But really, the other mountainous areas where a lot of illegal, trafficking of drugs, weapons, etc., went on, arms. So that was, I think, that project which the Omanis, again, it was given to Indian companies, again, as a matter of trust, on a negotiated basis. They turned to India with its experience. So, I mean, just to add to that southern insurgency bit which was mentioned.
Indeed. Ambassador, you spoke quite at some length on India-Oman trade and investment relationship. In that context, I go back to the Sultan's visit to India in 2023, when both sides adopted what is known as a partnership for the future. At the same time, there is some discourse, some talk about how India's Vision 2047 can dovetail nicely with Oman's Vision 2040. Could you tell us a bit more about Oman's Vision 2040, what that entails, and how we can synergize the relationship going forward?
Yeah, Oman's Vision 2040 is obviously clearly a vision for modernization. This whole history of since Sultan Qaboos, Oman used to be a very insular, a very backward state before Sultan Qaboos. So when he came into thing, he started this process of modernization, and that, I think, is what the present Sultan and the present regime wants to take forward. So they have this Vision 40, wherein they would, they have various benchmarks to take the Omani progress. And obviously, our own Amrit Kal, which leads up to Viksit Bharat 2047, sort of coincides with that in a large measure. And therefore, the South-South cooperation angle, or the global South dimension dynamics of it comes in. So bilaterally, yes, but we also cooperate with Oman under the auspices of various other fora, whether it is India GCC. Incidentally, the India-Oman SEPA, if that is concluded tomorrow, would be another building block to the India GCC FTA, which is being negotiated. We already have a FTA with UAE, so this would be the second with regard to the GCC countries. So that, I think, would also provide an impetus there. On the issue of Omanization, which was referred, you see, localization is a policy of all Gulf countries, because they have a huge number of expatriate populations from different countries. So that is a given, whether it is Saudi Arabia, where it's called Saudiization, whether it's Emirates, where it's called Emiratization, or whether it's Oman, where it's called Omanization. So, I mean, it is I think, fair to expect that obviously they would provide the first jobs would be available to their own nationals. So that, I think, is not in dispute. We have never sort of, in that sense, tried to challenge that. Every country would do it. But as I pointed out, despite Omanization, there is a great felt need for expatriates in various fields, whether it is professionals, doctors, engineers, teachers, technicians, technologists, or it is right up to the blue-collar workers. So that is something that we would like to see, if the SEPA addresses that issue, that there is smooth facilitation. There is, because India always stood for legal, regular migration. And so there is, I don't foresee that as a major stumbling block going forward. Omanization, yes, in phases, they would like to, because they also have a very high level of local Omani unemployment. So naturally, they would like to address that. So that is on the Omanization policy. But generally on the economic and commercial, let me also point out that OMIFCO, which is the fertilizer plant between a joint venture between Oman Oil Company and IFCO and CRIPCO on the Indian side, was the first joint venture of that magnitude, almost $1 billion at the turn of the century. So that was the cost. That was perhaps the largest Indian joint venture abroad anywhere in the world of $1 billion with a 100% buyback of urea that it produces. And that has been a very profitable venture, both for Oman as well as for the Indian companies who are partners in this joint venture. There is, of course, we heard Mr. Jindal speak, because there is the Jindal Shadid steel plant, which is very important in the Sohar area. Then there is also a large number of L&T investments there, and many other Indian companies. But as we always say, we are not satisfied, we should not be, because the potential is much greater. And that is where I think the SEPA will provide the impetus, a renewed push towards further investments both ways, in terms of joint ventures, in terms of project contracts, and of course in terms of trade.
Indeed, and taking this forward, Mr. Wagma, do you think the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement will go a long way to take the relationship beyond oil to newer areas of cooperation possibly?
Yes, and since we're talking about building and erection and construction, might I mention the Sultan of Oman's palace in Muscat was built by Shapoorji Pallonji Construction SP back about 3 decades ago from Bombay, a based company. Yes, and I did mention this at the outset of our special broadcast, that these new parameters are evolving across the region, not just with Oman, as India's relationship burgeons with all GCC partners to wean away from the traditional hydrocarbon sector, which still plays a part in more ways than one and will continue doing so. An appreciable segment of trade will be concentrated on that. But manufactured goods, the digital economy, IT services, higher education, industrial solvents, pharmaceuticals, and the like are already playing a considerable part of toing and froing, import and export with not just Oman, but also with all the other regions. To take just one random example, Ramesh, for example, the civilian reactors constructed in UAE now, the nuclear reactors, by the South Koreans, maintenance has been, as a contract, has been garnered by the Indians. So that goes to show how things have evolved from what used to be just a hydrocarbon oil and gas based relationship. And all GCC states, it is part of their national programs to diversify and not be completely dependent on just the oil sector or the gas sector, and the political implications thereof, with prices that just fall through the roof or don't. And that ties in with their budgets and does have an impact on them. And all the GCC states in question are underpopulated too. Remember that, locally speaking, which is why they still need expatriate skilled labor in so many sectors where they haven't plugged in their own local talent. So that will see Indian expatriates still playing a major conspicuous role for times to come, not just in Oman, but across the GCC.
Indeed. And if I were to just quickly ask you for a follow-up question, Ambassador Mukul, on the point you were mentioning earlier about trade and investment. Now, the balance of trade, and correct me if I'm wrong, is in favor of Oman. So how does India rectify it going forward, especially in light of the soon-to-be signed SEPA, or Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement? What in it for Indian exporters? For instance, can we expect India to boost exports to Oman in terms of maybe chemicals, petrochemicals, machinery, and so on?
Yeah, I mean, the balance of trade is around 60-40, really, 6 billion or so, 6.5 billion in terms of Omani imports and 4 billion in terms of India's exports, making a total of 10.5 or 10.6 billion. Now, I'm personally not very concerned about this. The idea is to provide a boost to both two-way trade, and SEPA will do that. Of course, Indian companies are going to benefit, because the 5%, I think it's 5% still, it used to be like that, duty which Oman levies, which will be waived off if the SEPA comes, if we have a FTA with Oman, and that would provide a substantial benefit to the Indian companies. all the sectors, whether it is also India is a major player in the food security of Oman. We should remember they look to India as providing them a lot of rice and a lot of agriculture products go there. So that is one. Secondly, the textile garment apparel sector would be benefited, and of course not to forget the higher tech engineering and electrical goods and other products. Of course, pharmacy, India being the pharmacy of the world, Indian pharmaceuticals are everywhere, and Oman is no exception. So in all these areas, there would be a substantial benefit, or let's say comparative advantage or competitive advantage for Indian companies were the SEPA to come into force. On that note of economic commercial, let me also point out that India and Oman have a special purpose vehicle called the Oman-India Joint Investment Fund. Now this has been a very successful, it's not very huge. 2 tranches of this have been successfully implemented, wherein it is 50-50 owned between State Bank of India and the Oman Investment Authority, OIA. So this one, the 2 tranches totaling $320 million has been invested in India. This is an SPV for the Omani investments into India, and a 3rd tranche of 300 million is presently under implementation. So obviously with a SEPA, a comprehensive economic, not just a trade agreement, we expect it to be a comprehensive economic partnership agreement which would cover trade, investments, services, etc. So that would again provide, I think, added advantage for such for Omani investments to also flow into India.
Right. While we are still waiting for some more visuals to become available for us from Muscat, Oman, may I request our guests to stay on for a bit longer on this broadcast. But for the moment, can we take a break, short break, and regroup after the break for the remainder of our broadcast. Stay tuned to DD India. Don't go anywhere just yet.
Welcome to the fascinating world of Daman and Diu and Dadra and Nagar Haveli. Unravel the rich history. And traditions of these places.
Welcome back. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and you're watching a special broadcast here on DD India of India's Prime Minister Mr. Modi's ongoing visit to Oman. Now, India-Oman relations go back centuries because of a movement of trading communities. These links have always been harmonious, so much so that land for a Krishna temple near Muscat was donated by the late Sultan Qaboos to the Indian community. My colleague Gautam Roy spoke to the temple's manager Rajiv Sampath. Take a listen.
This is the Krishna temple in Doordarshan, very close to the Omani capital of Muscat. In 1987, the then Sultan Qaboos had given this land, donated this land to the merchant community from India. Here, the Indian community is almost 675,000 strong here in Oman, and there are two main temples in Muscat and around it. One is this Krishna temple, and there's a Shiva temple as well.
This temple, as we said, it was just 38 years past for this temple, for Krishna temple, and we do all the functions, all all the community do the functions here in temple, and we have visitors of around 1,000 to 1,500 people every day.
There's something special about the idol here as well.
There is a idol of Govind Rai ji, we say. It's a idol, Krishna idol, but it was like brought from the, they say, from the Iraq, and to show the between two countries tie, there is a khanjar on the idol. It's a Omani khanjar on the idol, which we cannot see right now because of the shringar, but it is there.
How do the communities here, the Omani community and the Indian community, it is also now Omani to a large extent, some of them have been here for centuries. How do they live together here in Oman?
Well, we have all the freedom here. Omani community is very helpful, including His Majesty is very helpful. We do all the programs here with all the freedom we are doing it.
Prime Minister Modi is here on the 17th and the 18th of December. What are your expectations from this visit?
India and Oman's relationship is from thousands of years, and Mr. Sir Narendra Modi sir, when he'll come here, we'll get more opportunities between the two countries' tie.
Thank you. So the friendly ties here in Oman between India and Oman, represented by the Indian community and the Omani community here as well, in complete harmony. They've been here for centuries, really, ties going back to centuries between people to people. And these relationships, they are expected to get a major fillip during Prime Minister Modi's visit here in Oman. With cameraperson RK, Gautam Roy, Darsaid, Muscat, Oman.
Right, we still have with us our guests. Ambassador J.S. Mukul is a former Indian envoy to Oman. Also with us is Mr. Burzin Wagmar from London. He is with the School of Oriental and African Studies at the University of London. Ambassador Mukul, if I can ask you to zoom out and look at the region as a whole, in addition to India and Oman, do you think there's scope for both sides to do more on the multilateral side, given the fact that Oman is a key member of groups such as the OIC, for instance, or the GCC and the Arab League?
No, absolutely. I mean, Oman is a very active member of first the fora in which we cooperate, that is the GCC and the IORA, the Indian Ocean Rim. In fact, India and Oman are among two of the founding members of the IORA. It was then called the IRAC. So we cooperate very closely on that. In addition to that, Oman is also, yes, you rightly said, a member of the Arab League, where we have relations at the level between India and the Arab League, and therefore Oman is an important member of that also. With regard to OIC, I would only say that as a moderate country, they always these friendly countries, all of them, always advocate and advise moderation. Sometimes, of course, the OIC pronouncements under the influence of some others are not so moderate, but that is something that we always value our friends in OIC to the extent that OIC matters. Of course, we also have our approach to OIC is that we treat their pronouncements with some amount of disdain and contempt. But our friends there always try to moderate the formulations in the OIC. So this, yes, Oman is a member. So it's both bilateral as also with regard to Oman's regional standing in GCC, in Arab League, in the IORA format, and of course in a large number it has a voice in number of other fora. In fact, it may be important to recall in this context that during our presidency of the G20 in 2023, India had invited Oman as a special guest, and 9 Omani ministers, in fact the Omani delegation attended 150 meetings during our presidency of the G20, even though they are not full members of the G20, but as one of the special guests of India. 9 of their ministers attended these meetings during 2023 during India's presidency, which I think they appreciate and value. And at the G20 summit in September 2023 in New Delhi, the other Deputy Prime Minister, Syed Asad bin Tariq, also a brother of His Majesty, was present at the summit representing Oman. And of course, soon after that, His Majesty came on a state visit in 2023 December. So yes, Oman is an important interlocutor. And again, I should not forget the United Nations. We also cooperate very closely at the level, at the global level of the United Nations and other multilateral fora between India and Oman.
Mr. Wagmar, when two principals, two leaders meet, they can be expected to discuss an entire range, the entire gamut of issues, including bilateral and other issues. In the case of the Indian and Omani leadership, when they meet and hold talks in Muscat in the next many hours going forward, what regional and global issues you think would be discussed by the two leaders, Prime Minister Modi and the Omani Sultan? Mr. Wagmar? Mr. Wagmar, are you with us? Can you hear me? Right, we'll try to link up with Mr. Wagmar in just a bit, but if I can take that question to you, Ambassador Mukul, what regional and global issues would the two leaders be discussing when they hold talks in Muscat?
First, of course, I think both countries are very clear with regard to counter-terrorism or the scourge of terrorism, and I think that would be a subject of discussion. We both reject terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, and Oman has always been, very supportive of India's positions on terrorism. So that is one of the major issues. In addition, with regard to the regional issues, the Palestine, the Israel conflict in general, and the problems in the turmoil in Gaza in particular, the ongoing, killings there would also be a matter of concern. Oman is, of course, an Arab country, and they apart from in addition to the global country as a whole, have a major concern. So that would be a matter that would come up for discussion. In addition, I think all other global issues, whether it's climate change, because then again, this is a matter which both countries attach a lot of importance to. The rules-based international order in general, whether it's at the WTO or it's with regard to trade at the WTO or with regard to climate change at the UNFCCC, or any other issues would come up for discussion. Indian Ocean Rim Association, as the two founder members of IORA, would also be, I think, something that the two countries would need to discuss. And of course, this would be an opportunity to exchange views on all other issues which are presently engaging the global leaders.
Ambassador, since you mentioned Gaza peace, India, for one, has announced a contribution to the Gaza Reconstruction Fund, as it were. India is in touch with all parties to the issue. In that context, do you think, for the benefit again of viewers joining us from around the world, why don't you recap for them India's position on the Gaza peace issue, and also is a convergence of positions in both New Delhi and Muscat when it comes to Gaza peace as well?
I think both countries stand for peace. That is a given. I mean, and I think there would be a strong convergence with regard to stopping the bloodshed, as with more than, I believe, around 70,000 people have been killed. While, of course, both had condemned terrorism of October 2023. But I think this bloodshed which has been going on, disproportionate kind of killings, need to stop. I think that would be a subject of discussion. And there, of course, after that, the reconstruction, the post-conflict reconstruction would be of interest to both the sides. There, of course, it is, I think, still a little premature, because the full contours of the peace settlement have to play out before actually reconstruction can start. But humanitarian assistance is something that India has always been very strong on. Oman also supports as you pointed out, we have provided a lot of humanitarian. We have sent in humanitarian assistance and contributed to this fund. I'm sure, I don't have the figures, but I'm sure Oman has also been contributing, and both the countries. So peace, followed by the rehabilitation and the humanitarian to ameliorate the humanitarian problem of the Gazans, and thereafter looking at the reconstruction. But on the larger issue of Palestine, again, India's traditional position has been that we stand for a two-state solution, both Israel and Palestine living side by side in peace, etc. So that position is very clear. It's a traditional position that has been reiterated in various fora. So that is something that would also, I think, come up during the discussions on regional and global issues when the two leaders meet tomorrow.
Right. Let me take a moment here and play out some more news for the benefit of our viewers about India-Oman ties. Now, during his 2018 visit to Oman, Prime Minister Modi prayed at a Shiva temple in Muscat. Now, the temple is a living example of unity and coexistence for the Indian diaspora. My colleague Gautam Roy has more.
The Indian community in Oman is 675,000 strong, but the links go back centuries, and one of the indicators of that is a structure where it's standing in right now. It's a Shiv temple, the oldest perhaps in the entire Gulf region. It's known as the Sri Adi Moteshwar Mahadev temple here in Muscat, and Prime Minister Modi also visited this temple in 2018, and now that he's coming here again, let's talk to some people who are associated with the management of the temple here. We have Rajesh Soreji with us. Rajeshji, how's the Indian community this time around looking forward to the Prime Minister's visit?
It was an historical, event when he visited here, and this was the temple where he had visited and done all the pujas. This temple was established by the Indian community, which was basically known as the Banyan merchant community, who had migrated years ago, before 1970s if you say, and because of their strong relationships with the government, with Oman, this has been possible, a place to worship.
And there's a miraculous aspect to this temple as well, I believe, because of this structure that we see here. Tell us about it, please.
This is the sweet water well, which, if you say, this is one of the oldest well in the whole Gulf region. And if you see this in this temple, earlier in this well itself, they used to take out the water, wash their clothes. The community itself, they used to come here, wash their clothes, have a bath over here, and then worship, and then they start their business trips to all over Oman.
So there's a bit of magic to the ties between India and Oman as well, which goes back centuries, and perhaps that magic will be taken further, and it will lead to a lot more dividends for both the communities, both the countries in the coming days with Prime Minister Modi's visit. With camera person RK, this is Gautam Roy in Muscat for DD India.
Now, engineering goods and services are the largest component of India's exports to Oman, nearly 25%. Gautam Roy spoke to India's Engineering Exports Promotion Council's chairperson Pankaj Chadha, who says that a trade deal will boost Indian exports to Oman. Take a listen.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's second visit to Oman is expected to reap rich dividends for different sectors in India, and we have one of the sector's representatives with us. We are with us Pankaj Chadha, chairperson, the Engineers Export Promotion Council of India. Thank you for speaking to us, Mr. Chadha. What are you hoping to gain in terms of increased business ties between India and Oman following this bilateral visit?
See, basically we have the largest export from India to Oman. We have roughly close to $1 billion now. And
just the Engineers Export Promotion Council.
It's about, the export is about $4 billion, out of which engineering is $1 billion. The bilateral.
Right, let's take you to Muscat for some more visuals of the Prime Minister's engagement upon his arrival in Oman. Right, so there we saw how Prime Minister Modi was accorded a warm welcome upon his arrival at his hotel in Muscat. He witnessed a traditional Omani welcome cultural performance. India's vibrant cultural diversity was on full display in Muscat as well. He witnessed a special cultural performance. A special Gujarati song as well was presented, and a Ghumar dance performance was presented to the Prime Minister. The members of the Diaspora took the lead in showcasing blend of classical dances including Kuchipudi, Mohiniyattam, Bharatnatyam and Kathakali. The Prime Minister also witnessed Yakshagana, a display of traditional Indian theatre dance performance, including a special Bollywood dance performance was presented showcasing the harmony of India's diverse religions and cultures. Right, we are approaching the end of our broadcast. So one last comment from you, Ambassador Mukul, your thoughts on the way the visit has shaped up so far. And also, if I may ask you for your thoughts, any special memories that you may have of your time in Muscat, in Oman, in terms of maybe the cultural connect, cuisine, your travels around the country, films, or even music?
Well, first about the visit, I think Prime Minister has visited the GCC countries 15 times.
Right.
This is his second visit to Oman, I think in about 10 or 11 years. I think that speaks for the kind of importance that our foreign policy and our leadership attaches to the GCC region in general and to Oman in particular. And this strategic partnership is so both alive and kicking, and I'm sure it will go to newer heights following this visit of the Prime Minister. Coming to the cultural aspect, yes, the Omani, we had discussed the moderate ethos of the Omani society, the Ibadi tradition, etc. And we also saw the clips on the temples there. I mean, this is it is very heartening that we recall that, I mean, on the Shiva temple, for example, every Shivratri, it was not just the Indians, it was the Omanis also participating in terms of the festivities. At the Krishna temple, I recall that every festival, I don't think I'm able to attend every festival now in Delhi or NCR, but every festival from all parts of India were showcased there. just as you saw a bit of that in the cultural performances that were showcased to the Honorable Prime Minister by the Indian community. So the Indian community is very vibrant. They are a very proud community. The oldest are the Gujarati Indian community. They have their own tradition. Many of them have been given Omani nationality. There are almost 2,000 OCI card holders there. And of course, then the largest number is the Keralite community, which also which is locally called as the Malabari community, which has played a very major role. So, I mean, every moment of my 4 years in Oman is something that I cherish. The memories of the tourism sites, the Ras Al Jins or the turtle beaches, the south, the mountains, the seas. So, I mean, and of course, but it's above all the friendship of the Omanis.
Absolutely.
They are perhaps the most friendly people in that region when it comes to India.
Indeed.
And Indian community, as I had earlier pointed out, remains the preferred expatriate community because it is considered a factor of strategic stability, apart from, of course, skills, the law-abiding nature, etc.
Indeed.
So I'll leave at that, but thank you for having me.
On that note, Ambassador Mukul, may I thank you for joining us and sharing your perspectives, your thoughts, your take on the Prime Minister's visit to Oman. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Right, and with that, it's a wrap on this special broadcast. But news continues here on DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.